The Impossible Wager. Marcus Kane gripped the controls of his damaged shuttle as it spiraled toward the purple-hazed atmosphere of Vera 7, alarms blaring in the cramped cockpit. Come on," he muttered through clenched teeth, fighting to stabilize the descent. The impact with the orbital debris field had shredded his starboard thrusters, and now he was going down whether he liked it or not. The shuttle hit the planet's surface hard, skidding through what appeared to be a field of crystalline vegetation before finally shuddering to a halt. Marcus sat still for a moment, catching his breath, then initiated the emergency release. The hatch hissed open, and he stumbled out into the alien landscape, his dark hair disheveled and his expedition suit torn at the shoulder. The air was breathable, thank God, but it carried a sweet, almost intoxicating scent. The landscape before him was unlike anything he'd encountered in his 5 years as a xenobotanist. Towering trees with translucent bark stretched toward twin moons, visible even in the daylight, and the ground was carpeted with plants that seemed to shimmer with an inner glow. "Well, this is just perfect," Marcus said to himself, running a hand through his hair as he assessed the damage to his shuttle. The communication array was completely fried, and the navigation systems were beyond field repair. He was stranded, at least until the Expedition Command realized he'd missed his check-in. A sound caught his attention, a melodic humming that seemed to resonate with the very air around him. Marcus turned to see a figure approaching through the crystalline foliage, and his breath caught in his throat. She was breathtaking. Her skin was a deep, rich purple that seemed to hold its own luminescence, and her hair flowed like liquid amethyst down past her shoulders. She wore a form-fitting suit that appeared to be made of living material, shifting and adjusting to her movements. Her features were elegantly alien. High cheekbones, large eyes that glowed with an amber light, and lips that curved into an expression of bemused surprise. "A human," she said, her voice carrying that same musical quality as her humming. "How delightfully primitive. Your vessel is quite thoroughly ruined." Marcus bristled at her tone despite being mesmerized by her appearance. "Marcus Kane, xenobotanist with the Terran Exploration Initiative. And you are?" "Zora," she replied, circling him with obvious curiosity. "Chief xenobiologist for the Veran Science Collective. I've been studying this sector's unique flora for the past 3 cycles." She paused, her amber eyes scanning him from head to toe. "Your species is even more basic up close than our records suggested." "Basic?" Marcus couldn't help but smile. "Lady, humans have colonized 47 worlds in the last century. We're a lot tougher than we look." Zora's laugh was like wind chimes. "Tough, perhaps. Intelligent? That remains to be seen." She gestured toward a nearby structure that Marcus hadn't noticed before, an elegant research station that seemed to grow organically from the landscape itself. "I suppose I should offer assistance, primitive as you are. My station has communication capabilities." "That's generous of you," Marcus said, falling into step beside her. Despite her condescending attitude, he found himself drawn to her. There was something magnetic about her presence, an energy that seemed to resonate with the planet itself. As they walked, Marcus couldn't help but notice the way the plants responded to Zora's presence, turning toward her like flowers following the sun. "These specimens are incredible," he said, his professional curiosity overcoming his wounded pride. "I've never seen bioresponsive flora with this level of environmental awareness." "Of course you haven't," Zora replied, though her tone had softened slightly. "Your species has barely scratched the surface of xenobotanical understanding. These plants exist in a state of quantum entanglement with the planet's electromagnetic field. They're not merely alive. They're conscious in ways your primitive instruments could never detect." Marcus stopped walking, his attention caught by a cluster of plants near Zora's research station. They pulsed with a soft blue light, their structure unlike anything in his extensive botanical database. "What are those?" he asked. "Curious after all?" Zora murmured, a hint of approval in her voice. "Those are lumina clusters. They're part of my current research into bioluminescent communication networks." She moved closer to him, and Marcus caught a faint sense like ozone and honey. "But I doubt you'd understand the complexity of my work." "Try me," Marcus challenged, meeting her amber gaze directly. Zora's eyes narrowed, but Marcus saw a flicker of interest there. "Very well, human. Tell me, what do you know of the starfire orchid? "The mythical flower?" Marcus frowned. "It's supposed to bloom once every century, somewhere in this sector. Emits a unique form of radiation that can supposedly enhance neurological function across species barriers. Most scientists think it's just a legend." "Most scientists are correct to be skeptical," Zora said, her purple skin seeming to darken slightly. A blush, Marcus realized. "But the starfire orchid is real. My people have sought it for generations without success. It's said to exist in a state of quantum superposition, visible only under specific atmospheric and temporal conditions." Marcus's pulse quickened. This was exactly the kind of discovery that could make his career. "And you're looking for it?" he asked. "I've dedicated the last 3 cycles to the search," Zora admitted. "But even our advanced scanning technology has yielded nothing. The flower is simply too rare, too perfectly hidden." She turned to face him fully, her expression shifting to one of playful challenge. "I suppose a primitive human botanist wouldn't stand a chance of finding it." "Is that a challenge?" Marcus grinned. "A statement of fact," she replied, but her lips curved into a mysterious smile. "Though I suppose if you're desperate to prove yourself, I could make it interesting." "I'm listening." Zora stepped closer, close enough that Marcus could see the subtle patterns that shifted beneath her purple skin like constellations. "If you can find the starfire orchid before the next lunar alignment, 3 of your Earth days, I'll grant you anything within my power to give." "Anything?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. Her amber eyes glowed brighter. "I'll be yours, Marcus Kane, completely, by the ancient laws of my people. If you succeed in this impossible task, I will bond with you in the traditional Varen way." Marcus's heart hammered in his chest. He barely knew what that meant, but the way she said it, the intensity in her eyes told him it was significant. "And when I fail?" "When you fail," she corrected with confidence, "you'll admit that humans are as primitive as I believe, and you'll assist me with my research as a manual laborer until your rescue arrives." Marcus extended his hand. "Deal." Zora stared at his outstretched hand for a moment before taking it. The contact sent a jolt of electricity through Marcus's arm. Not painful, but intense and strangely pleasant. Zora's eyes widened slightly, and her purple skin flushed darker. "You have until the twin moons align," she said, withdrawing her hand quickly. "I look forward to your inevitable failure, human." But as Marcus walked away to begin his search, he caught the briefest glimpse of uncertainty in her expression, and he smiled to himself. Maybe, just maybe, he was about to surprise her.
The unexpected discovery. Marcus spent his first day studying the terrain with an intensity that surprised even himself. He'd set up a basic camp near his crashed shuttle, using its remaining power cells to run his portable analysis equipment. The standard scanning methods weren't working, just as Zora had predicted, but Marcus hadn't survived 5 years of frontier exploration by following standard procedures. "Think like a botanist, not a technician," he muttered to himself, reviewing his data logs. Every plant on Virus 7 seemed to exist in some form of harmony with the planet's electromagnetic field. If the starfire orchid was as legendary as the stories claimed, it wouldn't just hide from sensors, it would actively avoid detection by blending into that same field. He pulled up atmospheric readings from the past 3 days, looking for anomalies. Most researchers would search for energy spikes, but Marcus looked for the opposite, dead zones where the ambient energy seemed to be absorbed rather than reflected. There were hundreds of such spots across the region, far too many to investigate in 3 days. Unless he narrowed the parameters. Marcus cross-referenced the dead zones with geological data, then overlaid reports of mineral deposits. The starfire orchid supposedly enhanced neurological function through its radiation, which meant it would need specific minerals in the soil to produce such effects. Rare earth elements, possibly crystalline structures that could amplify and focus energy. There, he breathed, marking a location on his map. A cave system in the northern ridge, composed primarily of prismatic crystal formations, with an energy dead zone at its center that appeared and disappeared in a regular cycle. Quantum superposition. You're not hiding. You're flickering in and out of phase. He grabbed his field pack and set out immediately. The twin moons were already rising, giving him less than 2 days to find the flower and return. The terrain grew rougher as he climbed toward the ridge, the crystalline vegetation giving way to stranger, more alien growth, plants with fractal patterns that hurt to look at directly, vines that seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously. "Your boyfriend is quite determined," a familiar voice called out. Marcus turned to find Zora standing on an outcropping above him, her purple skin practically glowing in the moonlight. She descended with impossible grace, landing beside him without making a sound. "Following me?" Marcus asked, unable to keep the smile from his face. "Ensuring you don't die in some preventable accident. The fauna in this region can be dangerous to unprepared humans. I'd hate for you to perish before admitting defeat." "Sure, that's definitely why you're here." Zora's skin darkened. That fascinating blush again. "Your arrogance is astounding. You've been searching for barely a day and you think you found something our greatest minds have sought for generations, ? "I think I'm looking in a different way than your greatest minds," Marcus replied, continuing his climb. "You said the orchid exists in quantum superposition. That means it's not constantly present in our observable reality. It flickers, probably in sync with some natural cycle." He could feel Zora's surprise through the air between them, like static electricity. "That's actually, a sound theory. How did you? Sometimes being primitive has advantages. We're good at thinking outside the box because we don't always know where the box is supposed to be." They climbed in silence for a while, but it was a comfortable silence. Marcus found himself acutely aware of Zora's presence beside him, the way she moved, the soft sound of her breathing, the occasional brush of her arm against his that sent pleasant shivers down his spine. "Why did you really make that wager?" Marcus asked suddenly. "You had to know there was a chance, however small, that I might actually find it." Zora was quiet for so long that Marcus thought she wouldn't answer. Finally she spoke, her voice softer than before. "My people, we've become so advanced that we've forgotten how to take risks. We calculate, we analyze, we theorize, but we rarely just do. Watching you humans spread across the galaxy with such reckless confidence, it's both terrifying and exhilarating." "So, you wanted to see if I'd actually try? "I wanted to see what would happen if I stopped being so carefully rational. The bonding ritual I mentioned, it's not something my people enter into lightly. It's permanent, Marcus. A merging of consciousness that can never be undone. I should never have offered it so casually." Marcus stopped walking and turned to face her. In the moonlight, she looked ethereal, her purple skin shimmering with inner light. "Are you saying you want me to fail?" "I'm saying, that I'm not entirely certain what I want anymore. You've been here less than 2 days, and you've already disrupted my carefully ordered research and made me question assumptions I've held my entire life." Before Marcus could respond, the ground beneath them began to vibrate. A low hum filled the air, resonating in his bones. Zora's eyes widened. "The lunar alignment. It's beginning early." "The cave," Marcus said urgently. "We need to get there, now." They ran together through the increasingly strange landscape. The plants around them began to glow brighter, responding to the alignment of the moons. Marcus could feel something in the air, a building pressure that made his skin tingle and his thoughts sharpen to crystal clarity. The cave entrance appeared before them, a mouth of darkness surrounded by crystalline formations that pulsed with inner light. Marcus pulled out his flashlight, but Zora touched his arm. "Wait, let your eyes adjust. The orchid won't be visible under artificial light." They stood at the entrance, allowing the darkness to envelop them. Slowly, Marcus's eyes adapted, and he began to see patterns in the darkness. Swirls of faint luminescence that danced through the air like aurora borealis trapped underground. "Do you see it?" Zora whispered, her voice filled with wonder. There, in the center of the cave, suspended in what appeared to be a column of crystallized air, was the most beautiful flower Marcus had ever seen. It was roughly the size of my hand, with petals that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, solid and transparent, present and absent, burning with an inner fire that was every color and no color at once. "By the ancients," Zora breathed, "you've actually found it." Marcus approached slowly, documenting everything with his handheld scanner. The flower pulsed in rhythm with the vibrations filling the cave, growing more solid with each passing moment as the moons aligned overhead. "It's anchoring itself to this reality. The alignment gives it enough energy to fully manifest." "For approximately 30 minutes, Zora said, moving beside him. Her professional demeanor had returned, but Marcus could hear her tremor in her voice. "After that, it will phase out again for another century." Marcus carefully extracted a sample pod from his pack. "Holographic documentation should be enough for proof, right? I don't want to damage it." "You're not going to take it?" Zora asked, surprised. "It's too important to the ecosystem here. This flower is probably a keystone species. Everything else in this region likely depends on its periodic appearances. Taking it would be like removing someone's heart and expecting them to keep living." Zora stared at him, her amber eyes wide. "You are truly unlike any human I've studied. Most of your species would see only the value, the prestige of such a discovery." "Most botanists know better," Marcus said with a slight smile. "We're in the business of understanding life, not destroying it." They worked together in comfortable silence, documenting the orchid from every angle. Marcus noticed how the flower's radiation affected both of them. His thoughts felt clearer, sharper, and he could swear he could almost feel Zora's emotions like echoes in his own mind. Wonder, fear, something deeper that made his heart race. "Marcus," Zora said softly as the flower began to fade. "I made a promise." "You did," Marcus agreed, meeting her gaze. "But I'm not going to hold you to something you offered as a joke. I found the flower because I wanted to prove I could, not because I expect anything from you." Zora's expression shifted through several emotions: surprise, relief, and then something that looked almost like disappointment. "You don't want?" "I didn't say that," Marcus interrupted gently. "I'm saying the choice should be yours, not the result of a lost wager. If you want to explore what this could be between us, then I'm absolutely interested. But only if it's what you truly want." The starfire orchid gave one final pulse of brilliant light before fading completely from view. In its afterglow, Zora reached out and took Marcus's hand. The electric sensation was stronger now, more focused, and I could have sworn I felt her thoughts brush against my own. "Walk with me back to my station," Zora said quietly. "We have much to discuss, and I find that I am no longer certain of anything except that you, Marcus Kane, are far more than I ever expected."
The bonding ritual. The walk back to Zora's research station felt both endless and far too brief. Marcus's heart hammered in his chest as they moved through the luminescent jungle, hands still linked, neither speaking but both acutely aware of the decision hanging between them. "The bonding ritual," Zora finally said as her station came into view, It's not something my people treat lightly. Once completed, it cannot be undone. Our consciousness will be permanently intertwined. Permanently? Marcus asked, though he didn't let go of her hand. You would feel my emotions as echoes of your own. I would sense your thoughts like whispers in my mind. We would be, she searched for the word, tethered across space and time. Even if we were separated by galaxies, we would know the other existed, know if they were in pain or joy. Marcus stopped walking and turned to face her fully. In the soft glow of the bioluminescent plants, Zora's purple skin seemed to shimmer with inner starlight. And you want this? ? With me? ? A primitive human you met 2 days ago? ? Zora's amber eyes met his steadily. I've spent 3 cycles on this planet, analyzing, calculating, being perfectly rational. Then you arrived and found in 1 day what my people couldn't locate in generations. You treated a priceless discovery with respect rather than greed. You gave me a choice when you could have demanded I honor my word. Her hand tightened on his. Perhaps it's time I stopped overthinking and simply felt. I need you to be sure, Marcus said seriously, because I'm already sure. I've been sure since the moment I saw you, and that terrifies me. A slow smile spread across Zora's face. Then let us both be terrified together. She led him past her research station to a clearing he hadn't noticed before. The ground was covered in what looked like silver moss that pulsed with soft light, and in the center stood a circle of crystalline pillars that hummed with barely audible music. This is a sacred grove, Zora explained, her voice taking on a reverent tone. The ancient sites where my people performed bonding rituals before we became so, advanced. I discovered it during my first week here and have been maintaining it, though I never thought I'd actually, she trailed off, her purple skin flushing darker. We can still stop, Marcus offered, though every fiber of his being hoped she wouldn't. Remove your boots, Zora instructed, ignoring his comment. The ritual requires direct contact with the sacred earth. Marcus complied, feeling the strange moss beneath his feet, warm and alive and tingling with energy. Zora stepped into the circle of pillars and beckoned him to follow. As soon as he crossed the threshold, the humming intensified, resonating in his bones. Zora began to speak in her native language, words that sounded like music and mathematics combined. The pillars responded, glowing brighter with each phrase. Then she switched to the common tongue. The ritual has 3 phases. First, the joining of minds, then the harmonizing of bodies, finally, the merging of essence. That sounds, intense, Marcus managed, his mouth suddenly dry. It will be overwhelming, Zora admitted, moving closer until they stood mere inches apart. Your mind will experience sensations it has no frame of reference for. You must trust me, Marcus. Trust yourself. Trust what we're about to become. She raised her hands to either side of his face, her touch electric against his skin. Are you ready? ? Yes, Marcus breathed. Zora's eyes began to glow brighter, and suddenly Marcus felt her presence in his mind, not as words but as pure sensation. He gasped as her consciousness wrapped around his own, foreign and familiar all at once. He could feel her nervousness, her excitement, her deep curiosity about him, and underneath it all, a growing warmth that mirrored his own feelings. Don't fight it, Zora's voice echoed in his thoughts. Let me in as I let you in. Marcus surrendered to the sensation, opening his mind fully. He felt Zora's surprise and wonder as she experienced the full depth of human emotion, the intensity of it, the raw power of feelings that her species had long ago learned to regulate and control. By the ancients, her mental voice whispered with awe, you feel everything so deeply. It's beautiful and terrifying. Through their connection, Marcus experienced fragments of her memories, soaring crystal cities, the complex social hierarchies of her people, the loneliness of 3 cycles spent alone on this planet. He felt her initial dismissal of humans as primitive, then her growing fascination as she'd watched him work, her shock when he'd actually found the orchid. And he felt the moment she had realized she was falling for him.
The realization sent a wave of emotion through both of them. Zora pulled him closer, her body pressed against him, and the second phase of the ritual began. The air around them crackled with energy as their physical forms began to resonate with each other. Marcus's skin started to tingle, then glow with faint traces of bioluminescence. Zora gasped, both physically and mentally, as her rigid purple skin became more sensitive, more responsive to his touch. He could feel what she felt, the electric sensation of their bodies harmonizing, adapting to each other at a molecular level. "This isn't supposed to happen so quickly," Zora said out loud, her voice breathless. "The physical changes usually take hours, days even." "Maybe humans are better at adapting than you thought," Marcus murmured, running his hands down her arms and marveling at how her skin responded to his touch with ripples of deeper purple. "Or maybe," Zora replied, her amber eyes locked at his, "we're simply meant for each other in ways that transcend species." She kissed him then, and the world exploded in sensation. It wasn't just physical. Through their mental bond, Marcus experienced the kiss from both perspectives simultaneously. He felt his own desire and Zora's answering passion, the way his touch sent electricity through her nervous system, the way her unique biology responded to his human warmth. They sank to the ground together, the glowing moss cushioning them as the ritual entered its final phase, their bodies intertwined as naturally as if they'd been designed for each other, every touch amplified by their merged consciousness. Marcus had never experienced anything so intense. He could feel Zora's pleasure as his own, and she could feel his, creating a feedback loop that built and built until light exploded from the crystalline pillars and their consciousness merged completely. For one eternal moment, they weren't two separate beings but a single entity experiencing existence from two perspectives. Marcus felt himself transform and transcend, felt Zora do the same, felt them become something entirely new while remaining fundamentally themselves. When they finally separated, physically and mentally, dawn was breaking over Vera 7. They lay tangled together on the silver moss, both breathing heavily, their skin marked with new patterns of bioluminescence that pulsed in perfect synchronization. "That was," Marcus started, then couldn't find words. "Unprecedented," Zora finished, her mental voice still intertwined with his thoughts. "You've changed me, Marcus Kane. We've changed each other. My people have never experienced a bonding this deep, this complete." Marcus pulled her closer, marveling at how perfectly she fit against him. "No regrets?" ? Through their bond he felt her answer before she spoke it out loud. "None, though I suspect we've just complicated both our lives considerably." "Worth it," Marcus said with a grin. "Absolutely worth it," Zora agreed, and kissed him again as the twin suns rose over their new shared future. Transformation and discovery. Marcus woke to find his entire body covered in subtle patterns of light that pulsed beneath his skin like living constellations. He sat up quickly, examining his arms in the morning light streaming through Zora's research station. "Don't panic," Zora said from across the room, her voice carrying traces of amusement through their mental bond. "It's a normal side effect of the bonding." "Well, normal might be overstating it. You're the first human to ever undergo the ritual, So I'm glowing?" Marcus finished, watching the patterns shift and swirl with his movements. "Great. That won't be hard to explain to my expedition command." Zora moved to his side, and he noticed she'd changed too. Her deep purple skin now held traces of warmer tones, hints of gold and amber that flickered like firelight beneath the surface. Her rigid, almost crystalline complexion had softened, becoming more expressive, more human. "We're adapting to each other," she explained, tracing one of the luminescent patterns on his chest. The touch sent pleasant shivers through both of them, amplified by their bond. "Your human biology is incorporating my species' quantum resonance. My cellular structure is becoming more flexible in response to your adaptability." Marcus caught her hand, marveling in how their energies intertwined where their skin met. "Is this permanent?" "I believe so," Zora replied, and through their connection he felt her fascination warring with scientific uncertainty. "Marcus, what we've done, it's going to change everything. When my people learn that a human successfully bonded with one of us, and not just bonded, but achieved a deeper connection than any recorded in our history, they'll either celebrate or freak out, ? Marcus guessed. Both, probably, Zora admitted with a slight smile. She sat beside him, their bodies naturally gravitating together. I can feel you constantly now. Your curiosity, come at your wonder, come at your... Her purple skin flushed darker. Your desire. It's intoxicating. He pulled her closer, kissing her neck and feeling her response echo through their bond. The feeling is extremely mutual. I've never felt so connected to anyone. It's like you're part of me now. I am part of you, Zora breathed, as his hands explored her transformed skin, finding it more sensitive than before. We're something new, Marcus. Something that shouldn't exist according to every biological law my people understand. Their kiss deepened, quickly becoming more heated. The bond between them amplified every sensation. Marcus experienced his touch through Zora's megasystem, while she felt her own caresses through his. They made love slowly this time, exploring their transformed bodies, discovering new sensitivities and responses. Marcus found that certain touches made Zora's skin pulse with brilliant light. She discovered that the bioluminescent patterns on his body responded to her emotions, glowing brighter when she felt pleasure or joy. Their connection allowed them to anticipate each other's needs perfectly, creating an intimacy that transcended anything either species had ever experienced before. Afterward, they lay intertwined, their breathing synchronized, their heartbeats falling into matching rhythms. I need to show you something, Zora said suddenly, sitting up. Through their bond, Marcus felt her excitement tinged with nervousness. The changes aren't just physical. Come with me. She led him outside to the jungle, now fully illuminated by both suns. The moment Marcus stepped into the vegetation, something extraordinary happened. The plants responded to his presence, bending toward him, their bioluminescence pulsing in welcome. You're connected to the quantum web now, Zora explained, wonder filling her voice. The network that links all living things on this world. It took me 2 cycles to achieve even basic sensitivity to it. You've done it in days. Marcus closed his eyes, focusing on the sensations flowing through him. He could feel the jungle as a living entity, millions of interconnected consciousnesses forming a vast network of life. And somehow, he was part of it now. This is incredible, he whispered, opening his eyes to find tears streaming down Zora's face. Why are you crying? ? Because you're teaching my people something we'd forgotten, she said, her mental voice thick with emotion. We became so advanced that we stopped truly connecting with the universe around us. We observe, we study, but we don't participate. You've been here less than a week, and you're already more integrated with this world than I am after 3 cycles. Marcus wiped away her tears gently. Then let me teach you. Show me how to share this through our bond. They stood together in the jungle, hands clasped, and Marcus opened himself fully to the connection. Through their merged consciousness, he let Zora experience what he felt. The pulse of life surrounding them, the rhythm of the planet itself, the joy of simply existing as part of something greater. Zora gasped, her entire body lighting up with brilliant patterns. Oh, Marcus, I see it now. I feel it. How did we lose this? How did my people become so isolated from the very thing we claim to study? Maybe you needed an outside perspective, Marcus suggested with a gentle smile. Sometimes the most advanced thing you can do is remember how to be simple. A new future together. 3 weeks later, Marcus stood beside Zora in her research station, watching as a Vivian diplomatic vessel descended through the atmosphere. His rescue ship had arrived days ago, but he'd sent them away with a message that he was remaining on Vera 7 indefinitely. That decision apparently caught the attention of Zora's people. They're going to study us like specimens, Zora said nervously, her hand finding his. Through their bond, Marcus felt her anxiety clearly. Let them, Marcus replied, squeezing her hand. We've got nothing to hide. What we have is real. The Vivian delegation was led by an elder named Thyron, whose deep purple skin was marked with silvery patterns denoting his age and status. His amber eyes widened when he saw them together, particularly when he noticed the matching bioluminescent patterns that marked them both as bonded. "Extraordinary," he breathed, circling them slowly. "The legends spoke of such bonds in ancient times, but we believed them mythological. A connection so deep it physically transforms both participants." "It's real, Elder," Zora said formally, though she did not release Marcus's hand. "And it's permanent. Marcus and I are bonded in ways that exceed any recorded in our history." Thyron reached out, touching Marcus's arm where the patterns glowed brightest. "The human has developed quantum sensitivity. Impossible. Your species lacks the neural structures necessary for such perception." "Had," Marcus corrected gently. "I had those limitations. The bonding changed me at a cellular level. I'm still human, but I'm also something more now." Through their connection, Marcus felt Zora's surge of love and pride. He smiled at her before continuing. "And Zora has changed too. Her people's rigid biology became more adaptive, more emotionally expressive. We've both been transformed by what we shared." Over the following days, the Vivian scientists conducted extensive tests, their amazement growing with each result. The bond between Marcus and Zora was unprecedented. They could communicate across distances without technology, sense each other's physical and emotional states perfectly, and their connection to Vera 7's quantum web had deepened to levels that typically took Vivian masters decades to achieve. "Your species possesses something we lost millennia ago," Thyron told Marcus during one evening meal. "Raw adaptability, emotional intensity, the willingness to embrace change rather than merely study it. Perhaps in our pursuit of advancement, we forgot what it means to truly live." "So what happens now?" Marcus asked, glancing at Zora. "Do we become some kind of science experiment?" Thyron's expression softened. "We were hoping you might become something else entirely. Ambassadors. Proof that our species can not only coexist but thrive together. The galaxy has kept humans and Vivians largely separate due to our biological incompatibility. You've proven that incompatibility was merely assumption." Marcus felt Zora's excitement flare through their bond. "You're saying—" "I'm saying that Council wishes to establish formal relations with humanity, and they believe a bonded pair, one human, one Vivian, would be the perfect representatives for this new era. If you're willing." Marcus turned to Zora, speaking through their mental connection. "What do you think? Ready to change the galaxy?" Her response was immediate and filled with warmth. "With you, I'm ready for anything." They accepted the position, and over the following months, Marcus and Zora became the faces of human-Vivian cooperation. They traveled between worlds, sharing their story, demonstrating the possibilities that opened when different species truly connected. Scientists from both civilizations studied their bond, learning from it, attempting to replicate the conditions that had allowed such a deep union. Some succeeded. Slowly, carefully, other human-Vivian bonds began to form. Each was unique, but all shared the fundamental transformation that Marcus and Zora had experienced. A genuine merging of two beings into something greater than either alone. On the anniversary of their bonding, they returned to Vera 7, to the sacred grove where it had all begun. The crystalline pillars still hummed their ancient song, and the silver moss glowed beneath their feet as they stood in the circle once more. "I never imagined my research would lead to this," Zora said, leaning against Marcus as they watched the twin moons rise. "I came here to study plants and ended up discovering—" "Love? Question mark?" Marcus suggested with a gentle smile. "More than love," Zora